Hello. Today's lesson we are talking about different types of texture. So we have been drawing different textures, practicing drawing. That's actually only one of the types of texture in art. There are 4 different types of texture in art. So today you're going to be completing this worksheet where you'll define each type of texture, and then you will show me a visual representation of that texture, either by drawing it or by making it. So this is what the lesson looks like. There's a slideshow here. At the end of the slideshow, it starts to talk about, and throughout the slideshow, it starts to talk about the actual project that we're doing, which is a texture quilt. We will not do the planning sheet for that until tomorrow. So today it's just focusing on this worksheet, expanding our knowledge on different types of texture in art. So you would click here for the worksheet. That's going to bring you to this. Again, you don't have to print this worksheet. You can always just do it on a separate paper. Just write the name of the texture, definition, and then your visual representation. At the top, I just want you to define texture. So tell me what your definition of texture is. Now you're going to find these different definitions in the slideshow. So if you go back here, there's a link for the slideshow there. You'll click that, and that's going to bring you to Welcome to the Wonderful World of Texture slideshow. And in this slideshow, it will show you each type of texture with the definition. So here's a definition of just the texture. Texture in art stimulates 2 different senses, visual and tactile. 4 types of texture in art: actual, simulated, abstract, and invented. Actual texture is 3-dimensional. You can actually feel it. So this is an object. It's the smoothness of a table, that roughness of the tree bark, the fluffiness of a dog. So those are actual things. You can create actual texture in your project by changing the surface of your paper. So you can glue things down, poke holes into the back of it, make cuts in the paper, crimple it. You're just going to need one of these in your project. Simulated texture is a 2-dimensional representation of an actual texture that is realistic. So an example of this would be a photo or the drawings that we have been doing. So just like these that we've been trying to practice, for this type of texture, you'll have to draw at least 4 of them in your project. So since this is sort of our main goal, trying to be able to recreate realistic textures, this is why you have to put 4 of these in your project. If you have 4 already and you want to add, you can always find pictures of them and glue them down. Abstract texture is a simplified version of texture. So it's broken down into basic art elements. An example would be a cartoon. So cartoon texture. It's not hyper realistic when you look at it. Like Stewie's hair here. We know that it's hair. We can imagine what it feels like, but it's not realistic. It's just curvy lines. Another example would be like Minecraft. These are not realistic textures, but they still represent something that is realistic. They're just simplified. You're just going to need one of these in your project. Invented texture. So this is repeated elements that just break up the visual space like a pattern. It does not resemble an actual texture. So when you look at these, I should not think tree bark or waterfall. I'm just seeing the visual space being broken up by a repeated art element. So this is pretty simple. You just make a pattern. You're going to need one invented texture in your project. So this is where I start to talk about the actual project. You really need this for tomorrow. Today's just doing the worksheet, but on this slide, I show an example of the project, and then this is sort of just the overall, what the objectives are going to be when you go to make your project. So you can check that out too. So just for today, I just want you to complete this worksheet here and upload it by 12 tonight. All right.